Okay, so happy Saturday, everyone from Los Angeles, California. My name is Bryce Only, host of the Inside the Lab podcast. And for those of you who don't know about the lab community, about a year ago, Jared Barnes, co-founder of Athlete Development Lab, launched this platform really looking to connect individuals within the sports industry. At the time, I was working for the Los Angeles Dodgers in inside sales. Jared was working for the Los Angeles Rams. And as experience, one, having a background in sports, being a college athlete, but two, now we're being a professional and wanting to continue to network, collaborate, and grow. And then COVID hit and really stopped and paused the world and forced everybody to be glued to their phones, their emails, checking Twitter, checking LinkedIn. I know I was up hours of the early, like way too early to be on Twitter, way too late to be on LinkedIn. And so henceforth, the Athlete Development Lab was created. We are at 400 plus members strong. 60% of those members are at the director level or higher. And so really the entire genesis or a really blueprint of building this community was to be intentional and be inclusive, right? And so today today is April 10th, on the Inside the Lab podcast, where we interview advisors, investors, sports tech founders, and sports business leaders to impact their journeys and paths to success. Our goal is to entertain, delight, and inspire our audience into action with real talk and practical advice. And I'm always excited to record these interviews. One, for those who don't know, I'm just really passionate about content and media production. So maybe that's a shameless plug there. But I think really just doing the research, asking the questions, and then the most important part, is that you got to record the show. And today, I have Mark Scott, who, interesting enough, we first connected, I want to say 6 to 8 months ago. And I consider Mark a mentor, a friend. Hopefully he considers me the same, but anytime we hop on a call or want to talk through ideas, he's always putting me on the game. And so Mark brings years of experience from General Assembly and is a certified NBPA agent. Mark, how you doing today? Happy Saturday.
I'm good, Bryce. Thanks for having me. And I appreciate those sentiments. I remember we connected, like you said, 6 to 8 months ago. And every time we get on the line, it's just gems both ways from different coasts, from different perspectives.
Right. So,
and I appreciate it. I appreciate the lab too. I just want to plug you again. I've made so many connections on there, including this one. You and I spoke. I connected with you. I've been on another podcast from the lab. I've been connecting with a lot of people on LinkedIn. Like everyone on there too is like quick to hop on. Like, hey, you got 30 minutes this week. It's been a really good networking opportunity and a good community. So kudos for all your hard work on that.
No, I appreciate the words. That's what we hearing things like that is what we built the community for. And so, Mark, we're really excited to have you a part of the community. And with that, let's jump right into the interview. You know, in the pre-chat, we talked a little bit about our passion for sports, a little bit about our background. But for you, Mark Scott, like, why don't you tell the viewers a little bit about where it all began and what you're doing now?
Yeah, I appreciate that. So it all began, I'm from Brooklyn, by the way. I'm in Brooklyn right now. You might hear a siren, you might hear ambulance, you might hear anything. But my parents, I have two brothers. I'm the middle child, and my parents just put us in sports from early, as a means for, like, yes, my dad loved sports, but also, keep us off the street. It was easy back then to idle mind can bring you so many different ways. So like they had some sports, we played everything: basketball, football, baseball, karate, swimming.
Okay.
We were in the YMCA one weekend, and then the other weekend we in the soccer field. So that was important for us. And then we, like I said, we all played sports. I played high school sports, attempted to play college sports. Mm-hmm. And I have a write-up in the next place. Shout out to Jen. I was explaining that I wasn't mature enough to go to college at 17 at the time, 18, okay, and be a student athlete. That's just the honest truth. And okay, I went there, I flunked out, didn't play a minute of sports, I just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Came back home, I started, still quote unquote training. You 18, 19, you're still in shape. You can eat whatever you want.
Right.
You could do as many push-ups as you want. But reality started to hit me of like, hey, are you a professional? Are you a professional basketball player? The answer was no. So luckily I answered that question
Right.
faster than most people, right? But I knew I wanted to work in sports. Like
Okay.
I didn't know that I was going to be an agent. Sitting to you, telling you right now, if you'd asked me then would I've been an agent, I would have said maybe. I just knew I wanted to work in sports. And we know like that's a very ambiguous dream. That's a
Right.
good to have a dream, but it's very ambiguous. So I was like applying to like the MLS, the
Okay.
NBA, the NFL. But I still wasn't even applying. I'm in school at the time, but I'm just applying for anything. Like I didn't hone any skills,
Okay.
So even if I got an internship or anything like that, I didn't have that focus. I was just like, I was a very curious person,
Okay.
which is good, which is good. But sometimes like these corporations, they want you to, you have to stick. You want to be an accountant? Do you want to be,
Right.
operations? So many jobs and years later, I landed at General Assembly, like you said, tech company, very innovative. But one thing they allowed me to be myself. I worked in HR. I just had like a natural knack for HR. Worked there for a couple years. I still consult with them and do those type of things. But I was working in, like I said, HR. And in HR, you figure out, a lot of transactions, how to work with employees, how to run a business. That's what I learned from it.
Okay.
I always knew, again, now I'm starting to decide like, hey, I think I want to represent athletes. Like
Right.
I became more pro athlete versus like establishment, I should say.
Okay.
And I used to see people go on performance reviews, like PIPs and stuff like that. We used to have to terminate some employees for like performance. And I was just like, if they just knew 6 months earlier that they needed to do X, Y, and Z,
Might be
not
there.
only would they not got fired, but they may have been like exceeding expectations. So that's when that hunger and stuff came. Like, okay, bingo, this is what I want to do in sports. Like
Okay.
I want to represent athletes. And I was still like, I would go to tournaments still. Like I had a pretty good network of athletes and stuff like that. So started studying for the test and I started to love that. Like I started to, I was telling my fiance, like, that was the first time like I fell in love with what I was learning. Like normally in school, you just like, hey, you have to study this to pass this test. Like
Right.
I actually loved learning the MBA, the
That's
CBA. Awesome. And yeah, here I am trying to be great.
Hey, I love it. And we're really excited to have you on the show today. And I appreciate you shedding light on that. I'm learning some new things every single time we connect, man. I did not
I
know
know,
that.
bro. We might have to do this every week.
Right? We might have to. But I'm curious because you talked about your experience in HR and how it really there were some things that you learned as a result of working in HR. Did you when you first started in that particular role, did you go into it thinking like, okay, these are the outcomes that I wanted to have, or were those some of the things that you just started to notice over time?
It was definitely gradual. When I first got there, when I first got in HR, it was like I had like these myths about HR,
Okay.
just being an employee prior, just like HR is like going to the principal's office and like you can't say anything around HR. But I was really, once I learned like it's not like that, I also helped like demystify like going, it's human resources. It's like
Okay.
we're there to help. But after a while, like I started to just see like that we all have that coworker, that employee that we love, and then they leave, right? And like
Right.
we there's this big gasp, like, oh, Bryce is leaving, and then the next week they leave is like the job description's on LinkedIn. Like we got to replace Bryce. We love Bryce.
Right.
Wish you all the best, but like we have to continue to go. And then I've been around to some big like executive moves, like
Okay.
COO and president, and it was still the same vibe. It was like, yes, like this person's a big loss, but like we have an
Right.
opportunity to get better. So a lot of those transactions almost made me become numb to like, growth is good,
Yeah.
and a lot of times we get stuck, especially quarantine. I'm sure people can relate. We get stuck to our jobs, like our feet get nailed to the ground. And it's like, no, it's good to grow. It's good to make moves, good to shake things up. Sometimes people have left jobs just because they wanted something different. They didn't really know their next move, and that's
Right.
fine.
Right.
And if you know anything about sports, nothing is planned. The only thing that's planned is like the time tip off is.
Right.
That's it.
That's about it. That's about it. No, that's some good insight. I think there's a lot of gems that you can take from just the opportunities that are in HR. I think
Yes.
more men of color, Black men, should be
Yes.
in human resources. So I appreciate you shedding light on that. And you
Of
talked a
course.
little bit about seeing some on the transactional side, employees come and go, taking different opportunities. But in the mix of all of that, I'm sure you've been in around some exceptional leaders, right, that have allowed
Oh
you
yeah.
to really shape your perspective. Could you shine a little bit light on who those leaders were and what did you learn from them?
Um, I've learned a lot. Well, first I would say like the first like exceptional leader was probably my dad, like my brother. Like they just taught me, hard work like beats talent all the time. Like my GPA is not extremely high. You know, my older brother, my younger brother, they're very successful, but like they're none of us have none of us are brain surgeons, put it like that.
Okay.
But going back to working with exceptional leaders, I worked. There was a fellow by the name of Sharon. Um, he was a good. He worked in product. He was
Okay.
and he took a liking to me. He used to always give me gems, and I'm supposed to be helping him because I'm in HR.
Yeah.
He's more so helping me, like, hey, this is how you elevate.
It's
He used
funny
to
how that
always
works
tell
out.
me, like, this is how you're doing great here. You're doing great here, but like, this is how you elevate. I had a good manager at the time, Lee. She was like really good. She taught me how I was very good on my feet,
Okay.
but she told me how to plan. She told me how to plan a lot of things. And then just, you know, a lot, just watching from an HR perspective, just how successful companies are ran and how successful companies can fail. It was just like a lot of, just like being in those rooms, like you said, especially as a Black dude from Brooklyn, just being in a lot of those rooms was good enough. Like the room was mentoring me, like just seeing how finance and
Mm-hmm.
marketing play together and all of these things, these moving pieces, and like how communication is so key to any relationship, whether it's personal, whether it's business, and just like, oh, you forgot to email that person that delayed it 2 days, so we missed the deadline,
Right.
things like that. But yeah, those are a few of the leaders. Again, like shout out especially to my parents and my two bros. Yeah.
Shout out to the bros and shout out to mom and dad. And it's funny that you that quote, my dad says that same thing. Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. It's real.
Yes.
It is so real. I can so many testimonies of that. I mean,
Oh, me too.
it's just like, man, if it's but no, Mark, I'm glad that you were able to share us a little bit more insight on those leaders. I think it's important, and to your point, just being in the room, right, and being a fly on the wall and just
Mm-hmm.
observing, peeping game. So that's
Right.
you got to if you want to your point, elevate. You want to continue to grow. You want to continue to develop. And you talked a little bit more about your earlier in your career being at General Assembly, and now you're still doing some consulting, taking the test, getting certified. Congratulations, by the way, again.
Thank you,
Um,
brother.
but through all of that, and maybe we could talk a little bit more about your niche as it relates to being an agent. Like, what are some
Yep.
elements that really force you to think differently?
It's a good question. I feel like, for one, not that age matters. I'm younger, so some players might want someone more seasoned. Some people might want someone they could relate to.
Yeah.
All of that, it depends on who you speak to how. But again, this learning how to manage relationships, agent is a very like sexy word, right? But at the end of the day, if someone told me like I'm the chief of staff, or I'm the manager, or I'm the executive assistant, all of those things are true.
Right.
But I'm also like, you can also be the CEO, you can also be the founder. But relationships are important, and managing those, you need to know your client. You need to know like what the client wants, what they don't want, who has the client's ear outside of you. Maybe they have one parent that's like, it's only been that athlete and the parent their whole life, or they have a large family where like you need to jump through these hoops and get them to listen.
Okay.
They're gonna hear a lot, but do they listen, and what they listen to? But also to your point, I'm working on, like, as I work on and tweak the business plan, as always, it's like, all right, Bryce, what do you want to do in 5 years when you're looking at the latter half of your career? You made this money, congratulations.
Yeah.
But like, what are we gonna do? Like, I can teach you how to be, and that's why, rest in peace, Kobe, was so tragic when he passed, because he was 40, like he was early 40s. He had his whole career, a whole new career ahead of him.
Right.
And a lot of times, if you've been playing professional basketball, if you've been playing organized basketball since a teenager, then you go straight into professional basketball. You did 4 months in college for the one and done.
Right.
Right. Like you just know basketball. Like, yeah, you have all these things at your disposal. We talked about Draymond Green offline. Like,
right.
He probably has, hedge fund and tech fund people on his phone. He seems like a person that knows how to manage that, but the other person on the Golden State Warriors might not.
I got
so I want to, as I get to know and work for these clients, like, what do you want to do outside of this? Right? Like, you can go to Justin Tuck route. Justin Tuck is like, from the New York Giants, is like a vice president at Goldman Sachs. I don't think a lot of people know that. It's just like, when I heard that, I was like, what? Right, exactly. So he's a perfect example of like athletes. Let's just take it out of like this glamorous sport. Like, if you're an accountant, you're an accountant, and I told you, like, I'm gonna pay you very, very well, but it's only gonna be for 5 years, you have to switch careers.
Yeah.
An accountant would be like, whoa, like that's overwhelming. So I definitely want to help these athletes like figure out early what you want to do, continue to do your day-to-day, continue to eat well, be well, and play well. But let us start to build that foundation early of like what the next career is going to look like. Might be in media. A lot of athletes are going into media.
Yeah.
But there's only so many spots. There's less spots than there are on an NBA roster to just be on ESPN at 6 p.m. Right.
Right.
So, and a lot of these athletes, it's like, yeah, before I started playing basketball every day, I was very interested in
something else.
Other things. I was interested in that. Right. So I'm quote unquote, when I pitch myself, I'm pitching that as well. Okay. Like, yes, I'm going to help you with your day to day, but like, how do we make this a 60-year thing and not just a 5-year?
I'm following you. I'm following you.
YouTube highlight.
No, that's and it's interesting that you brought that up. I think, you like you said, the word agent is a very sexy word, but you take the cover off and you actually dive into what the work consists of, relationships. Okay. And then to your point, you brought up, I didn't even think about like, okay, yeah, you might be talking to someone, but are they listening? Who else are they listening to? And just the loop, the hoops that you had to jump through, and it's real. And so, no, I think anybody that wants to be an agent or is looking to go that route can listen to this podcast and find out what it's really about. And we'll make sure to put the contact info in the show notes. So if you want to reach out to Mark, you can ask any questions. But no, Mark, really glad that we got an opportunity to get you on the show today and transitioning a little bit. We're going to talk about how do you approach making decisions when you don't have complete information, right? And I think we talked a little bit about this in the pre-chat, but just this entire time of living in quarantine, it's been a challenge. And so for you, what is your framework to make decisions, like setting yourself up for success? Yeah, I mean, 6 to 12 months from now, but 3 to 5 years from now, how do you make those decisions now?
I think the most important thing for me is know why you do something, right? Like if I know why I want to do something, everything else that comes with it, the good, the bad, the lessons are information, right? To your questions. So like when I make a decision, I need to ask myself, like, why am I doing this? And what's the short term? What's the long term? Obviously, things are gonna go 30 different ways and then 30 different ways after that. But if I know why I'm doing something, that's all I need to make a decision.
Okay. No, that's the why, the purpose. That is we'll make sure to include that in the show notes. And in this, after you make that difficult decision, and it's not like you can revert back and take back the decision you made, you got to deal with it. How do you approach now that you're in that situation, but you're feeling unmotivated, you're feeling uninspired? Like, what gets you into the right flow again?
Yeah, that's a big thing in quarantine. I've been pretty good mentally, but like there's like anyone, like there's been a couple of times where it's just like this is like Groundhog Day. It's just, especially in the winter in New York when it's just like raining and snowing and it's cold. It's like it's Groundhog Day. What day is it? You don't even know what day it is, right? Being unmotivated, I just make sure I get as active as possible. And that's both physically and mentally. So it might just be reading a book. It might be reading an article. It might be doing some burpees, some jumping jacks and stuff like that. But when I'm unmotivated, I go back to the why I'm doing it. And sometimes I'll just put this gem out there, especially if there's a person early in their career. Sometimes that day isn't the day.
That's okay too.
Like sometimes
you got to acknowledge that.
Sometimes, right, exactly. Sometimes that day isn't, because there's been times where I'm forcing stuff. I'm forcing to send emails. I'm forcing to write something. I'm forcing myself. And it's actually more unproductive to just be like, I'm going to close my computer. I'm going to get well. I'm going to eat well, drink well, move my body. And then tomorrow when I get up, I'm going to knock it out. I think my dad used to have this like rule of, he used to call it like the 48-hour rule. Some of my friends heard me talk about this. Just like, I'm going to allow you to be down to yourself for 48 hours. You can eat a bowl of ice cream, you can cry, you can scream. But after that 48 hours, take everything you learned from that situation and let's go. Right? So I still kind of, we all, even the most motivated of us, we still mope around sometimes. And that's natural. It's part of the cycle of life. Like that's why the earth turns, right? But definitely getting out that funk. And a lot of times, especially in quarantine, you don't have another person to just be like, Bryce, let's go. Like, what happened to this?
Right.
So you got to be that person. And the last thing I would say, this is a long-winded one, but the last thing I would say is like, you have to be the goal that you want to be before you are that. So I was telling people, like, I'm going to be an agent.
Yeah.
Before I even study, like, I already made this decision. I know why I'm doing it. I'm going to be an agent. And then it was just gradually a manifestation. And then I'm an agent, so there doesn't have to be sports. It could be anything, like I'm going to lose that weight. I'm going to send that email that I was afraid to send. All that stuff. It's like, you have to say you're going to do it before you even do it. Say yes before you're ready.
No, that is, I'm gonna have to include that in the show notes. A lot of gems today, Mark. A lot of gems. I didn't know. We might have to make this exclusive. I
got them in the tuck.
But this part of the show is it's time for the lightning round, and we're gonna ask Mark some questions that aren't too serious. Get to know him, the individual, a little bit deeper. And so, without further ado, the first question is, Mark, and I think I know the answer to this, but your favorite athlete and why?
Oh, I'm gonna say Carmelo.
Okay,
right?
Hoodie Mello.
I'm gonna say Carmelo Anthony, right? But this is loaded for me.
Okay.
LeBron James, just what he's nowhere near my favorite basketball player. I want people to understand that. Nowhere near
Okay.
my favorite athlete. But what he does for his community,
Mm-hmm.
both like in Akron and just like worldwide, and like the team that he built, I'm a big fan of like Spring Hill, Maverick Carter,
Yeah.
and those folks. He's up there with me. Like, when I mean like taking your platform and like pushing it exponentially, he's
Right.
the GOAT of that.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I'll say Carmelo and LeBron are tied.
Okay. That's a tough one to pick. No, those are two tremendous, exceptional athletes, but as well as like what they do for the culture, like
Yes.
it goes unmatched. It goes unmatched. And so I know, man, Melo's with the Trailblazers now. I mean, I don't, we
Playing
could,
good too.
yeah, he is. I mean, I know these guys are getting older, but they might play until they're in their 40s. Maybe it's looking like.
And back to like being an agent, you gotta be careful. Like those dudes are unicorns, bro. Like you, they make up like the top 5 of the league.
That's right.
Right. It's the other guys, right? It's
Right.
like, yeah, I would love to get a client that I'm like, sign up today to be playing high level at 36. But like that's another reason why they're exceptional, right? It's like
Right.
they beat the odds for real.
They did. I mean, just the everything. I think we take for granted the amount of work some of these athletes put in to their bodies, being taken away time from their families, from what else they want to do. Like, it is a real commitment. So LeBron and Melo, hopefully Western Conference Finals this year.
I would like that actually.
Okay,
Yeah.
Damian's playing well. He is. It might be his time.
Portland can't defend, but we'll see.
We will. We will. What's next question, the lightning round, Mark? What is your most memorable sports experience? You got to give us the full detail. Like, the stands was packed. This is where we got our tickets. This is the outcome. We need all of that. So please tell.
Oh man, this is a tough one. Sports experience. I just think this is gonna be corny. They might kill me in the comp, but like my dad was a season ticket holder for the Knicks. I want to say 2005.
Okay.
And any Knicks fans on here, we sucked. Like we were the worst team in the league. But obviously my dad got a deal, of course. And I got to see everybody. Like I got to see LeBron. That's when Wade. That's when Shaq was on the Heat that year.
Okay.
I seen Dirk. So I see all of these Hall of Famers.
Yeah.
I don't want to say for cheap. Sorry, Dad. I don't know how much you pay for them, but at the time it was just like I seen everybody up decent tickets. But I'll give you another Nick moment. I met Walt Clyde Frazier after the game, right?
Okay.
And I got his autograph, and I was younger. I wasn't. This wasn't the 2004 season. I was younger. When I go home, my brother had the same autograph on the ticket. So what I did was I wrote my name on my ticket as a kid, thinking like, "Hey, this is mine. I don't want my brother Tony to like get his mixed up with mine."
Yeah.
But Bryce, I wrote over like the Mark Scott.
Yeah.
Went over
Walt
Clyde Frazier's autograph.
No, it's okay.
My dad seen it like a couple weeks later. It was like, Mark, why would you do this? And I'm just like, I wanted to write my name because Tony got a ticket too. He's like, no, man, like that's the point of it is he's supposed to sign it. So
it's all
that's
good.
my most memorable moment. Yeah.
I respect it. I got a similar one. That's funny. But okay? So when you play college baseball, fans comes out to a game. After the game, they want the team to sign the ball, right? And so I'm a freshman at the University of Nebraska. For those who don't know, that's where I started out my career. And I get the ball comes to me, right? And for any of you who have a baseball, the center is for like I wish I had one here, but it's supposed to be for the manager. Darren Erstad was the coach at Nebraska at the time. Here I am, freshman. I get the ball. Yeah, I'm signing right exactly where the coach's spot is. I signed it, And the ball gets to Coach Erstad. He comes out of where he's at. He's like, "What you like? Nobody ever told you like you're not supposed to sign. That's my spot." I'm like, "No." He's like, and that was a joke for a little while.
Right.
But yeah.
No one told me either, Bryce. Trust me, no one told me either.
So I can relate to like that moment where you're like, "Man, I shouldn't have done that, huh?"
I wrote over that. I didn't know until my dad told me. I tell you, I was like 11 years old. It's like, yeah, man, I don't want to get mine mixed up with yours, bro.
Right. Hey, he was trying to. You said your brother's name was Tony.
Yeah, Tony.
Hey, trying to keep my stuff. I know how.
Right, exactly.
I know. I got two brothers. I know
right,
all the time.
Exactly.
They try. I come home. I come home, and my brother, he's got. I'm like, yo, that don't look like yours. Like, I already know.
I'll mix my Hall of Fame ticket up with yours.
Right.
My name's on mine.
That's funny. That is too funny. Next question in the lightning round. We talked a little bit about this in when I asked you the question about what you doing. What do you do when you don't feel motivated or uninspired? Mm-hmm. What's a movie or a song that you listen to that gets you right back in, or at least in a positive mindset of the right or in the right mind? What is it?
Jay-Z featuring Pharrell, Motivation. Okay. And it's like what Jay-Z is talking about in that song. Obviously, it's about motivation, but what he's talking about, I understand. He's basically talking about people doubting him.
Okay, I respect.
And that that motivate him.
I'm gonna have to listen to it.
Yeah, it's on Black Album, I think. Yeah, Blueprint too.
Okay, I'm gonna have to check it out. If your last question of the lightning round, if your life was a movie, what would the title be?
The Pivot, I would say.
The Pivot. Okay. The Pivot. Okay. What's the I mean, this isn't a part of the lightning round, but what's the what's the movie graphic? What's it look like?
Me sitting, or the actor that plays me like daydreaming. However you could depict that. Yeah. Just like daydreaming. Like if there's some way you can depict like a person having a plan, the plan doesn't work exactly how it's supposed to, and he's just daydreaming, just like, all right, took an L, like, here's where we going next.
I love it. Going back to your point on manifestation. I love it.
Yes, sir.
I see it.
Sir, you caught that. Exactly.
I see it. Mark, really appreciate you making the time, man. Where can the people find you? Where can the people find you on social media?
I'm on Instagram rarely, but you can still follow me at AKA Mark Scott. I'm on LinkedIn, Mark Elliott Scott. Mm-hmm. I'm sure we put in the show notes, but like mark.scott@crown-madison.com is my email. Hopefully if you not in the lab and you're listening to this or you see this, like, join the lab. I'm telling you, it's been great on there, just connecting with people. But yeah, not hard to find.
Okay. No, we'll make sure to include that in the show notes. Mark, thanks again for joining the Inside the Lab podcast, where we interview advisors, investors, sports tech founders, and sports business leaders to impact their journeys and paths to success. Our goal is to entertain, delight, and inspire our audience into action with real talk and practical advice. In addition, we cover topics relevant to the sports industry. Check us out on all our social channels. You can find us on LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, and of course, the Lab Slack channel. We'll include it in the show notes. And thanks for tuning in today. Take care.